Hello folks, today I want to talk about all the cards that have been previewed by now, March 30th, from the new expansion Journey to Angora. Basically that is 62 I think cards out of 135, and tomorrow March 31st, I believe Frodan or somebody else on a stream on Twitch will be revealing all the cards, all the remaining ones from this set, but in this episode let's talk about what we have by now. This is roughly half of the set, and I think some trends are already visible. So let's start off with Druid cards. So Trance is, it has potential, it's a strong card, but it doesn't really jump at me. Maybe it will grow on me, because, well, it's a sizable threat, it's pretty hard to deal with, etc. And we'd still have Whisper the Old Gods in the standards, and then Bounce into Yashiraj into this will be just insane. So something like this. So Astral Druid, I believe it's still in the format, but I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, even with the cards with for sure not gonna rotate, um, because all these weird combo cards are from very wacky, are from different sets, so it's hard to keep track. But I just don't know what deck would like it apart from Barnes Yeshurash deck, so that's a problem. Because other decks don't really need it. Living Mana is interesting. It basically means that token druids in standard is still gonna be a thing, because we still have the classic Savage Roar, so that combo would be actually much more of a thing. Moving on with the next set. Welding with Spores, I've read some comments in the discussion, so basically people compare it to Bloodlust and basically saying this is kind of like Blood Blast for 4 mana. But then again, clicking through all the options and selecting will be a mess. You'd be running out of time. So it's gonna be pretty hard to resolve this thing correctly if you have a pretty filled up board state on your side. So yeah, it's a strong card. I kinda like it, but then again, it's probably gonna be just a one-off, and it's again will be probably in this token druid deck. So I expect the Spores and the Living Mana just go side by side in one deck. Non-neck, well, it's not gonna force Beast Druid as an archetype, but this one is just common. But then again, a very solid card for Arena, at least. Hunter. Some Kindred is just a bad legendary. Uh, I would sit on it for a while, and then if within the month nobody actually gonna use it, I would just dust it off. It just doesn't speak to me at all. Um, for me, it's very hard to imagine that it will be played anywhere. I mean, it has good stats, but it's so easy to counter it. It's just meh. The Mush Queen, so playing 7 1-drops could be challenged, but then um, all different kinds of things that they're forcing for Hunter for this archetype are actually like helping it a lot. So yeah, wouldn't be a very tough call. It says play, so you actually have to play those 1-drops. It's not like when they enter, so it's not gonna be all that easy to trigger it. Um, so the alley cat not gonna trigger it twice, for example. But yeah, Hunter has a lot of playable 1-drops, so, and we get some more in this expansion. And the actual card that you get is actually quite okay. I'll talk about it later in the next section. So I'm viewing the spoiler now in the zoomed up way from the halfpvn.com, so I really love that site. Basically encompasses a bunch of different things. And yes, whenever I mention some sites, uh, they most likely don't know me. So I have no connection. I just like to actually mention sources that I use and I like, and I think are very convenient. Totally Warden or the um, I would say Hunter Batman. Uh, Reasonable stats and drawing 2-1 cost is actually quite okay, especially if you're drawing these raptors, which I think are still like quite playable. Shuffling the 4-3 is not that bad. You basically decrease the odds of drawing something totally relevant, but with that Hunter quest in mind, it's actually quite okay. And then you shuffle it in, and then you can just draw him out with the Tallbear, so just card advantage, etc. I think it's an okay package, but the thing is that don't think some of those cards are garbage, and just don't think of them separately. You always should think about that in context of the whole package, because this will be a very synergistic deck, I would say. Stock it not necessarily will be in that deck, but let's just say it's nice. It's not a base, so it probably will be uh, too good of a card if it will actually have that creature type as well. But triggering friendly minions Death Router is pretty sick. We're starting off with, I believe, Talnos onto the 3 mana Death Rattle that pumps a guy in your hands to a bunch of different things. I believe Sylvanas is going to Wild. Yeah, so we're not gonna see that, and probably that's cards like this were the reason why they actually had to move Sylvanas to Wild, because it's really limited the design space, I think. Razor More is not probably not gonna be big constructed playable, but we'll see. It's actually okay. 2 is basic, and then you get a useful battle cry trigger, and then also it's a beast itself. Uh, it's bad that it's only adapts of a beast, and you have to have a one in play when you cast this, so ideally you want to have a beast on turn 1, but Hunter doesn't really have that big of a problem to set up that, so we'll see. So there is a small chance that this will see constructed play. Well, I wouldn't say like that small, but um, not a huge one, but there is potential. On to Mage. So the empty slots, by the way, represent the cards we're still waiting for to see tomorrow on stream, I believe, or here once the stream is done. Uh, so yeah, watch out for that. Pyros, basically, even without the context of a bunch of neutral good elementals, mages getting this Pyros, it's kind of interesting. So I love it. It's a reasonable 2-drop. Um, it's basically not just shuffles those into your deck, it basically puts them into your hand, so it's kind of like drawing a card in a way, in a very weird way. Then you get a 6/6 for 6, and then a 10/10 for 10, and yeah, I kinda love it. So you can basically have more space in your deck for control cards, because by just having this legend in your deck, you kind of uh, have more or less enough win cons in the deck. So I love freeing up space for interaction and answers. Um, I love Mana Bind. It's gonna be a bit tricky to set up. I'm not sure if you're gonna actually play the card itself in your deck. There's a chance of that. Um, likely, most of the time we would see it unconstructed will be from discover cards. But then it will be a pretty powerful option depending on the situation. It's a very situational card. So, yeah, it can be just countered by a coin, so we'll have to watch out for that. Some small spell that might not be that relevant, like Living Roots, can counter that. But yeah, it keeps opponent guessing, so they might misplay, and sometimes you can trap them because uh, it's not as flexible as you would want it to be. Even probably mirror entities better overall as as a secret for mage. But yeah, it's an extra playable, interesting secret. So I don't know. Maybe secret mage might becomes an archetype actually after such a long time of people trying to brew. Flame Gazer is interesting because not only it's essentially kind of like lava shock or something. Uh, Adding this one to has the biggest upside. Um, so if it would be just a whatever 1/2, that wouldn't be so crucial. But because it gives you 1/2 elemental, that's insane because it triggers all those neutral elementals that you might want to play in your deck in Mage. So it's kind of like archetype defying card together with Pyrus. So it enables this archetype, and I hope we're gonna see more of those. Ar Arcanologist is interesting because not only it gives some hope for a secret-based mage deck, but it also helps, uh, say, some kind of Reno-ish control mage. We're gonna say goodbye to Freeze Mage most likely because of Icelands. So it's good to see some kind of card for control slash burn mage. But we shall see. So I like to have this card in the game, so it's pretty nice to just have it in general, but we'll see what kind of shell people will come up with it. Depending on what is left to see, we shall see whether it's Secret Mage or some Control Mage or some Tempo Mage. But yeah, Tempo Mage is also going away because of the Flame Waker. So yeah, we shall see what's gonna happen. Sunkeeper Tarim, well, what can I say? Pretty strong legendary. I really love it. I think it will see a lot of constructed play, and yeah, it's just great. It's good if you have a bunch of your 1/1 tokens. It's good versus opponents, big boards. It's just like pretty much good all around. Very hard to have board state when it's actually bad. You could even use your some of your bigger creatures that are bigger than free to uh, clear some of theirs, and then once they have like I don't know 1 or 2 health left, convert them into free so they actually have they actually survive stuff like consecration, for example, or yeah, well, pyromancer trigger, um, things like that. I don't like the paladin's quest, so it just doesn't speak to me. You actually have to target your guys, and then Galvadon doesn't really speak to me as a insane creature, so it doesn't really impact the bot right away. It's just a big Terminator kind of creature that is gonna be big and has a lot of text on it, but it wouldn't really impact the bot right away. Dino Size is funny, so it's more like a casual card, but I don't might see some play. I wouldn't be surprised if it would see constructed play, but at the moment I don't quite see it. Uh, State is pretty sweet because we already know what kind of Stegadon card it provides. So compared to the common from Priest, which wasn't really played anywhere, 5 mana +2/+6 was kind of horrible. Now for just 1 more mana you get same buff but also taunt, and also when that creature dies you get a I believe 2/6 tons. So that's just pure value. That's just pure value. I'm pretty happy that Paladin gets cards like this. It's pretty useful. And kind of pushing mid-range slow Paladin as well in one set together with some aggressive cards. Like for example this Hydrologist, well it could be played in slow anything deck, but the problem is that as far as I remember with one where so anything rotates out, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it does, so that's kind of sad to not have these two cards at the same time in standard. Um, yeah, it's sweet. S- for Arena it would be pretty cool because solid 2 drop that discards you something useful depending on the situation. Although Paladin Secrets are much worse than Hunters or Major. Yeah, they're still okay. So this Arena card, sadly, it's a Murloc that you can't use in an anything deck as far as I'm concerned. Okay, the Light Fuse check it on. Um, so let's start for 4 mana and then it adapts all the records. If it would adapt all the creatures on board at that time, that would be just ridiculous. So that would be like a legendary or something. It would probably be like a free 2 or something for 5 mana, I don't know. Um, and yeah, it pushes this next card, as well as I believe one of the ones from the previous 2 sets. I think there was 1 for 5 gets 5 recruits. So now that card is going to be played probably together with this one, so Token Paladin might become a thing. So I like that they're pushing with one set, basically kind of like 3 archetypes for each class, something like that. That's a pretty good design, I would say, and that just helps to create a lot of variety in the meta. Priest gets a lot of sweet stuff. The quest, first of all, is pretty sick. Casting the Fratos is actually quite okay. Problem is, I believe League of Explorers goes away, so you don't get Curator. That would have been pretty useful. And the Legend you get is pretty sweet too. More on that a bit later. Uh, these Glimmer Root, it's actually weird. It's weird. And I still like it. I actually still like it. It makes this kind of separate Burgle kind of priest archetype. I love it. Shadow Visions is probably pretty good as well. Um, it's kind of like OP, but for 2 mana, okay, you don't get a body, but then again, you choose from your spells from uh, spells in your deck, so you have a bit more control, and then pre-spells are pretty powerful, and they're a bit too specific sometimes, but with this card in the deck, get so much control and just get whatever you need. It's kind of like a tutor. I think Shadow Visions is pretty sick. Mirage Crawler is pretty sweet too. Um, you just need to build your deck around it a little bit. So that's another Batman impersonator in this set. Yeah, I love it. Um, just a copy of Talus is okay. What else? Plus, because of the Awakened Mages, so you'll be playing a bunch of Death Rattles in your deck, I think, and that archetype, like this Oracle already. Um, so yeah, I believe Awaken and these 2 cards, Oracle and the Color, will belong in the same deck. And then Glimmerroot and Visions will be in another one. So yeah, at least 2 distinct archetypes for Priest within the one set, that's pretty sweet. So Oracle, yeah, another Burgle kind of effect, and uh, yeah, I love it. I love it. That would be so interesting to see those deck in tournaments and stream and coverage. I can't wait to see that. Uh, Turtlon is kind of okay. Basically, a very solid arena card. But yeah, mostly looking at impact and constructed. Not really excited by most of rogue cards showed so far. Um, Playing 4 cards in a turn is gonna be actually not that hard for rogue. So yeah, reviving this flower won't be that hard. But I don't know if that's actually gonna help rogue that much. They're losing so much stuff. Um, well, actually not that much, but the stuff they're losing is pretty important. Plus, there won't be a real miracle rogue anymore because conceal will be moved to wild. The quest won't be that hard to actually. I know it's the same name for everyone's with the same name, so you'll have to burgle and stuff. But yeah, that doesn't quite work. So you'll have to make copies, and so far we actually haven't really seen stuff that's copies. Well, Mimic Pod copies, but I'm not really a fan of that card that much. Uh, Basically spend free to just copy something. There has to be more payouts, I think. I just hope we will see more payouts for all the copying and for the so that you would actually want to play this quest and build a rack around it. I really like this Slayer. This plant is like pretty uh, powerful. Combo destroy guy. We've seen something like that. Not as just a big game hunter in neutrals, but the 9th drop for Kafum Rogue. But yeah, this is a pretty sweet card, I think. Probably gonna be a staple in all mid-range rogue decks. Shaman gets super big buffs. Um, Not a fan of Murloc-centered Shaman. Not looking forward to that for sure. The Elemental Shaman, on the other hand, is looking pretty damn sweet. You get an extra AoE. Uh, that is kind of like more guaranteed to clear off bigger stuff on board. Um, Even though it sounds random, but it's much less random than you think it is. So Vulcan is actually pretty sweet. And Sentinel and Primal Road Lord, well, yeah, you'll have to run a lot of mid-rangey controlish cards to justify playing such a deck. And bear with me, even though Spirit Echo actually have Murlocs pictured on it, but I think it will be much better in the Elemental build because the elemental version of Shaman will have a bunch of elementals with sick battle cries, just like these two, so get a bunch of tokens or just cast Invocation. And yeah, Kalmas is sick, you don't have to quest for it, you just like have it in your deck. That's just so absurd. And then all the invocations are so amazing. You get to choose. You basically just, without being a Reno deck, you get the kind of like Kazakas in your deck. Is just so absurd. And yeah, given Death Rattles to a bunch of elementals is ridiculous. So Warlock, one of the archetypes will be discard lock. Uh, but so far I haven't really seen control cards really. Except for the Mist. The Mist it's basically like a super corruption, and I don't really like the card, so you soak in some damage, but then you get rid of the whole board. Um, but the problem is that with Reno Gun, it will be really hard to take all the damage in and just justify cards like Corrupted Mist. So I really hope to see, I don't know, something along the lines of anti-heal bot for Warlock, otherwise it will be pretty hard for control lock. But yeah, Disco Lock is getting big upgrades. I don't think you're gonna play this Raptor in that deck, even though that's not, well, Pterodex, yeah. I like the Zavas, even though it's legendary, so only one copy in the deck, but you get another payoff for these cards in addition to the plates, the dishes, so yeah, that's pretty sick. And then Felhand is kinda like Doomguard, but then again, it's common and 1 mana less. Okay, it's not a 5/7 charge, but it's still right. You probably still play the card in the deck. Because 4 slot is actually one of the most flexible ones for Warlock. Normally you just see there the Defender of Argus, but sometimes you can see combination or just the Crystal Weaver, or that's 5/4 that pumps the demons. But yeah, really excited for this card Warlock. Looking forward to it, but I want to see some cards for control Warlocks as well, because uh, people been playing that deck for a pretty long time, so you don't want to upset all of them. So you want to give them some hope. Where it gets big updates, upgrades kind of, or just big options. I think Kimash is pretty sick with Whirlwind and well, we lose Revenge, so there won't be that. But then you still, I believe, get the Ghoul that pangs everything when it enters, so you can play him, playing the stuff. If it's if opponent trades off, that's fine. If he doesn't, then you can like play Kimash next turn. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty easy to activate it, and you can even do it in 1 turn. So the good part is that Kimash costs 9, so you can Whirlwind and then cast Kimash. It's just so sick, just sick. Um, Exploring where it's hard to justify this card at the moment without seeing what it can potentially bring. Um, I like it. It's just very interesting casual card, and it could be actually a competitive card depending on um, what it will deliver. We'll have to see. It's interesting. Corner Sentry, I like it. So kind of Dirt Red, kind of Death Lord sort of card in a way. But then again, if you're gonna play your deck with the Kimash in it, so you're playing Whirlwind, so you can cast this guy and then cast Whirlwind, so you're left off with a 2/5, and then again you have the Fishies, I believe, that's still gonna be with us, so you can, I think it's fine, it's fine. Because you can cast this card and then cast the Ghoul on turn 5, so you essentially get a 2-mana 2/5 taunt. That's quite okay, I would say. And then there could be some combos with it. I don't know, could be some synergy that I'm forgetting here. Molting Blade Assault is much better than the Shifting Zeros or whatever that card was. Because you get Impact right away, no matter what, in the form of some removal. So you just wait, and then if it just turns into a random 3/2 weapon, it's okay. It's just removal. But if it turns into Goro Hollow, then you're just super happy, and so on. So I think the card is fine. I don't think it's overwhelming, but it's worth a try. It's worth a try. I would love to experiment with it. Okay, finally neutrals. So Ozark is just okay. The thing about it is that okay, it's not a very exciting legendary. It's not gonna be that big. It only pumps the health. It's just gonna be this big giant break and play. But then again, you'll still play it in the focused elemental deck. So no matter the fact that it's not super exciting, but you still play it just because the effect is still powerful enough, and it's another big neutral like, elemental and so on. Really gonna be hard to believe how you're gonna play at all the Hamilton new allies. It's not a big fan, at least somewhat interesting for some fatigue decks, but that's about it. Not really excited about the Primalist either. Just become random targets and so on. Uh, but then again, you might just discover some sick AoE, and then the random targets doesn't actually matter. So yeah, it depends on like what will be the math. on the cards you discover with, because it's neutral, so it could be pretty much anything, like any spell. Uh, and yeah, so we'll have to see this card in action. So it might range from just meh to like pretty decent, because Blaze Caller will be a constructed staple, I would say. Megazord, yeah, because it's neutral and it affects Murlocs and so on, and we have still Finjay and etc. etc. So yeah, probably gonna be a big constructed staple as well. Just for mana 5/4 is already pretty sick, and the Battle Cry is insane as well in the right deck. This is okay, not super excited about it, but it might actually be quite okay. But then again, Reno's gone, so where we're gonna play this and so on. But yeah, getting armor is pretty relevant for control decks against Pirate Warrior, which yeah will be hated out quite severely, I think. It still might be playable if people just don't play the ooze and the crab and so on. Volcanosaur is okay. Basically, it's just a solid arena card, but I wouldn't say it's a sick constructed one. It's just the it could be a good filler for decks that just need some value at 7 drop or something like that. Just a good filler decks for decks that just don't have that many good options for late game. Servant Escalamus is your new uh, operative, basically. It's a bit weaker, it's a 4/5 and not 5/6. But then it's a neutral card, and with all these sick elementals that are coming with the new set, and also converting stuff like Ragnaros into elemental, means that you will have pretty good options with Servant as well. And then it's maybe a little bit more flexible in terms of how you activate it. So just casting a random elemental before you play this is actually probably gonna be easier, and it will be more consistent than just holding on to elementals in your hand. I think mathematically it's just uh, gonna be more just easier kinda. Okay, Telvier, another kind of Batman-esque kind of card in terms of art, but then it's neutral 3/5/4 is okay, and if you play it until last turn, this gets taunt and Divine Shield. I'm a bit a bit sad that it's not elemental itself. Maybe that will be too much for this card. I don't know, but I don't think it would just push it too much. So yeah, Taunt Divine Shield is pretty so sick. So yeah, uh, quite okay. You would probably play it in both the Shaman Elemental center deck and the Mage center Elemental center deck. And the Crab, which is supposed to hate on the Pirate Warrior, so yeah, we'll see where it will end up being played. I don't know. So right now Pirate Warrior is kind of like the boogeyman of Standard. We'll see how things change. If everybody will just be playing Ooze and Crawler, then yeah, Pirate Warrior will not be a thing, but if it will be just enough to, uh, have it there, it's okay. So Stegodon is actually a separate card, it seems, as well. Dark Creepy is also just a fine arena card, just like Stegodon. Lookout might be a good thing for the Murloc Shaman, I suppose. So it could be a thing there. I'm not sure if you're gonna play this Lizard in Major and Shaman, but maybe you will have to just to have enough elementals in the deck. But then again, it's not an elemental itself; it's a beast. So if it would have been an elemental, I think it would be would have been a no-brainer whether to play it or not. Then Glacial Shard and Firefly, I suppose you will just have to play them in your Shaman and Mage decks. Elemental is nice. I mean, this Shard Elemental is nice because um, it's actually a fine top deck in the late game, just to freeze opponent's big dude, just to race. And then Firefly is less of a good top deck, but then it kind of fills up the board. And then, I don't know, maybe Evolve has some place in Elemental Shaman, so we'll see. And then we have tokens, so yeah, Pyros, then the Priest Legendary, which is I think pretty sick. So Priest is safe. So with Reno gone for Priest, Priest is still alive as a kind of um, control control deck. Not only it already had some healing, some potions and stuff, but now it has this Amara, so Priest is safe. But for Mage and for Warlock, we don't know what's gonna happen. So yeah, the portal from the quest for uh, Warlock, that's fine. On Gorpak, I don't know. It all depends what the math actually ends up on that. There are pretty sick cards in this set that are flexible enough, but we shall see. Megathon is pretty sick, but then again, I don't know. It depends on how crazy Murloc Shaman would look like. There is a chance it would look quite okay. Invocations are all pretty sick, so really excited to play that deck. Rogues, Rogue's Legendary from the quest is quite okay, but then again, completing that quest I think wouldn't be that easy. Yeah, the Hunter's Legendary from the quest is pretty nice too. Even though you're shuffling a bunch of those raptors, but then you are drawing them back, and then when you actually cast those raptors, they cycle. So it's not like you will end up losing the game with 5-10 raptors left in your deck or something like that. So they're pretty good at kind of taking them out by themselves. Then 8-8 on 5 is actually pretty sick. And yeah, I love the deck. I like the um, the setup. So you're gonna be playing this grindy, fatigue-ish kind of hunter. So you're missing on stuff. You'll be missing stuff like Reno for refills, and then when you shuffle 15 copies, so Reno is not gonna be active. So I don't know. You need some healing in this deck. A hunter has decent removal, decent-ish, but not really good heals. So we'll see where it goes. Galadon, I don't know. What can I say about it? Yeah, it's gonna be pretty big, but kind of pretty vanilla to my taste as well. So we'll see. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe, leave any comments in the section below. Um, and yeah, don't forget to check the links in the description. And yeah, leave me any wishes for later videos. Until the next sale, goodbye, folks.